Okay, so we've FOILed all these out. What we're going to do is we're going to take them all, and we're just going to take the answer. The reason I get you to close your book is because I don't think you've memorized them. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. Ooh. So they all fit on one page. Here we go. Some of the old numbers are there. Now what we're going to try to do is, based on these, we are going to work backwards. We're going to say this was originally 2 sets of brackets. Okay? The keys are the first and the last ones, because those don't change. So if my first one's x squared, what do my first ones have to be here? X and x. Good. Now, if my last one's 14, here's where things get difficult, because what multiplies to get 14? 7 and 2, or 14 and 1. But if I were to choose, say, 14 and 1, my outside is 14 and my outside is 1, my inside is 14. That never makes 9 if I put it together, because the outside and the inside get combined for that 9. I've got it set up so if I make mistakes, they disappear. It's a super smart board. Okay. So if you did 7 and 2, now what is my outside and inside? Does it make 9? Yes. So that's what we have to, now the harder part is with the outside and the inside, we need it to make that middle number. So we might have to guess and check a little bit and do some mental math in our head. Sometimes we'll put the wrong answer down, and then if you get the fancy notes like I have, it'll just erase after some time. You go back and you feel like, here's my test. All my answers are gone. Uh-oh. All right. Here's our next one. What's the first one? 2x squared. So what does it have to be? 2x and x. That's the only possibility. Now to get 3, it could be 3 and 1 or 1 and 3. And you might say that's the same, but watch what happens. When I put, say, 3 here and 1 here, my outside is 6 and my inside is 1. Does that ever make 1? No. But if I had switched it around with 3 here and 1 there, now what's my outside? 2. My inside is 3. Do 2 and 3 ever make 1? Yes, if we're subtracting, right? And I need a negative 1. So can you see that I would need my 3 to be negative? I'll make that blue. My 3 to be negative, and my 1 to be positive, because now my outside is plus 2. My inside is minus 3. And that makes minus 1 for outside and inside combined. What we always do when we factor is once we're done, we quickly FOIL it in our head. We multiply the first ones. Does it match? Yes. We multiply the last ones. Does it match? And then you check your outside and inside to see if they match as well. You don't have to write these down. You can just watch if you'd like. I'll give you, because we already have from our notes before what the answers are. So we're just trying to work backwards. What does it have to be? First, 3x squared. 3x and then an x. That makes 3x squared. For our last one, 15. Could be 1 and 15 or 5 and 3. What would you like to try as an example first? 5 and 3. So if I do 5 and 3, my outside is 9. My inside is 5. Does that make 14?
It does make 14, but
okay. We need a negative 14, so if my outside was negative 9 and my inside was negative 5, would that not make negative 14? What about my last terms? Does negative 5 and negative 3 still make positive 15? Yes, it does. So we do a quick check, it works. Now, you'll see that they're easier when the first number is just an x squared, right? Because then when you have x and x, they're exactly the same, and it won't matter where I put the number. For 24, what are some things that multiply 24? 8 and 3. And if we check 8 and 3 with outside and inside, does it make 11?
Yes.
And they would both have to be positive to get the positive 24 and the positive 11. You saw in the last one, they both had to be negative to get the positive 15, but still get the negative 14. X and x. How are we going to get 8 on the for the last ones? 2 and 4. But I need to get a positive 2. So you can see my outside, I'll make that my positive 4, and inside negative 2. And if you do a quick check with the first, outside, inside, and last, it works. And finally, to get a 2x squared, 2x and x. To get a 3, 1 and 3. Now let's check our outside and our inside. If I did the 3 that way, my outside is 6, my inside is 1. Does that work to get 5? If we're subtracting, it would, right? Now I need a negative 5, so I'm going to make my outside negative. Gives me negative 6. My inside positive, right? Is my last term negative 3? It is. Okay, we always have to do a check at the end to see if it works. So now I have some for you to try. Make it so that you can see them all. When you're done, always foil to check. There are some in here that'll make you think. Okay. Again, over top of each of these, you're going to think first, last, oi, first, last, oi, first, last, oi, first, last, oi, 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 oi. Okay. So, put your brackets out. You got x and x, because that works for first ones for 12. 3 and 4 make 12, and if they're added, our outside and inside make 7. Do a quick check and foil it out, and yes, it works. Second one, bracket, 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 bracket. So we put x and x. Now if we think of our times table for 13, 13 is a prime number. So one possibility would be 1 and 13, but then if you do plus and plus, you get 14 for outside and inside combined, not 12. So that's not good. So then maybe you try negatives. If they're both negatives, you still get positive 13 at the end, but then outside and inside make negative 14. So everything I've tried, my pen just disappears. This one is not possible. We have tried all the possibilities.
Why'd you trick us?
How?
You can go negative x, and then it'll be x squared.
But then you'll get a negative x squared.
But I thought negative times negative equals positive.
But if you did them both negative, like negative x, okay, 13 and 1. My outside is negative 1, my inside is negative 13. That still makes negative 14. So some of you tried to do the positive and the negative, right, to make 12, but then your last one makes negative 13, not positive 13. This is very mean. My floating factors were these little bubbles of happiness, and I just popped them. I'm sorry. I do that one to point out that it is very important to foil to check. Because you don't want the question to foil you. Yes. Yes. It'll say on the test, it'll say factor, and then it'll say if possible. So sometimes it won't work. Wow. X and X. 16. Did you get 8 and 2? And then minus 8 plus 2. No, it doesn't matter if you have the factors switched. If you had x plus 2 first and x minus 8, it doesn't matter, just the same way as 5 times 3 is the same as 3 times 5. X and x to get 20. Try 4 and 5, but that doesn't give you 9. But 10 and 2 does give you 8 if you're subtracting. I need a negative 8, so I'll make my 10 negative, my 2 positive. And finally, bracket, 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 bracket. This is why you need to know your times table very well, because when you see a number like 56, I need you to know 8 times 7 right away. And if you know 8 times 7 right away and you say, does that make 1? Yes, it does. And I need a negative 1, so I'll make my 8 negative, my 7 positive. Outside and inside works. Do a quick check. I got my negative 56. Everything is good. I'll make this small so that you guys can see them all. Are you factored out, Catherine? 5 minutes left. Awesome. See if we can get these ones.